Hello, my name is Jim Dice. I'm one of the registered nurses with Twin Oaks Home Care, and we're going to be going over our fall staff meeting that we had on October the 17th. You should have watched the video, The Heart of Caregiving. I hope that you enjoyed that. That gets us focused back on where we need to be and how important our services are that we provide. Now going to your agenda, number one was the Ottawa Park picnic that we had. It was an excellent time. There were a lot of people that were able to make it. The children had a great time. We will try to have that again next year for those of you that weren't able to make it this year. Number two, we had our 6-year anniversary. As many of you know, companies for the first 5 years, there's like an 80 to 90% where they're not successful. And we made it through our 6 years, so congratulations to everyone that's been a part of that, whether you've been here 5 years or whether you've only been here 6 months. Number four, our employee handbook. Whenever we bring someone new on, there's a lot of information for them to learn. So we devised a handbook that we're going to go over here in a second, that they can actually take home with them and they can refer to all this information. They'll have it with them at all times in case there's any questions. So if you'll grab this handbook, we'll look through this. It welcomes them, tells them a little bit about our company, and lets them know if there's any questions, how to get a hold of us. The first topic there is transportation. I'm not going to read all this. This is something that you can take home with you and you can review yourself. The next thing is problems in a patient's home and how those are handled. The next thing is shifts. What types of shifts we offer, the types of shifts that employees are available for, and a little bit about the policies regarding shifts here at Twin Oaks Home Care. Next is our scheduling and how that's done, special requests, and the important thing there is the 14-day notice for the special requests for those to be guaranteed. And yes, those do have to be approved by either Dawn or Debbie here at the office. Next is hand washing. One of the most important things that we do is washing our hands, preventing the spread of infection, not just from you and the patient, but we don't want you taking anything back to your house that you shouldn't. Next is the call-off policy. It talks about the important things to remember if you do need to call off. Next is the complaints. When you're out in the home and there's a complaint, how it's to be handled. Cell phone usage. That hasn't been a real problem lately, but it has been in the past. Next is light housekeeping, our duties, our responsibilities, even things that we're not allowed to do when we're performing our light housekeeping duties. And I always say, you could be giving the worst care to mom in the world, and when the family comes in and they see that the house looks excellent, they're going to say, Mom's getting the best care. So a lot of what you do in the home is based on the environment of that home and how it looks. It's very important. Next is the insurances that we offer, which is the Aflac insurance. If you're interested in that, speak to someone here in the office. Documentation. An important thing, give yourself credit for what you do in that patient's home. It must be done before you leave the patient's home. Remember, black ink only. Next section is on medications. We do want people to be using pill boxes in the homes. I don't want any girls going and taking pills out of the bottles, putting them in patients' mouths. Next is the employee incentive referral. When you do refer someone here to Twin Oaks Home Care, if they work for us for 6 months, you do get a $100 bonus. Before you leave, you should take some Twin Oaks Home Care pens with you to make sure that you have those. You also need to take with you some cards, business cards. You need to be handing those out. And one of the most difficult things that we face as our company grows and as we continue throughout these next 20, 30 years with these baby boomers that are coming is staffing. That's the issue that is probably the most critical here in our office. And since we cover such a large area, all of Fayette County, all of Greene County, southern parts of Washington and Westmoreland County, It never hurts, to hand a card out to someone, especially if you're going through a drive-through somewhere. Ask them if they know someone that's looking for a job. Have them give us a call. Next is about the snow day policy. Everyone knows that the snow is going to start coming. There's a policy that's in place that lists patients that are critical, that we must get someone there to, and talks about even the shifts that we could even cancel because they could go today. Maybe the weather will be better tomorrow, and we can get someone out there the next day. What you're responsible for there during the winter time, making sure that your tires are good on your car, making sure that we don't leave patients unattended. If you're ready to leave and the next person's not there, to call the office. We have even went and picked people up in four-wheel drive vehicles and taken them to where they needed to be, because we have cases that we can't leave those people unattended. And next, the last one there is the medical videos here in the office. We do have those medical videos. Those are something that I'd like for employees to sign out at least one video a month. There's a clipboard on top of the file cabinet, and we need to continue to have our employees learn. That's only going to benefit each employee, and it's going to benefit the company as a whole. On page 4, the rights under the Family Medical Leave Act of 1993. There were some things that we weren't actually sure of, and there are some employees now that are requesting family medical leave for whatever reason. These are the policies regarding Family Medical Leave Act on page 5. These are the overall policies for every employee at Twin Oaks Home Care. There have been a couple changes to this, about a fourth of the way down, where it was always understood, but it was never in writing, about employees' attitude. Our attitude at all times must be helpful, polite, and considerate. We added that, and down at the bottom, because you're going to be receiving this handbook, you're going to be signing this and turning one of these in today before you leave, where it talks about you have received a copy of this handbook, and it's your responsibility to read and understand it. On page 6, a policy change dated February of 2006, where it talks about gifts and loans, solicitation, and transportation. Christmas is right around the corner, and there will be families that will be trying to give you gifts. Your school students are going to have to be selling things. We're not allowed to be taking those to patients' homes. If a patient is adamant they want to give you something, bring it here to the office. Take it, bring it to the office, and we'll make sure it gets back to them, and we'll review the policy with them, especially after you've told them 10 times, no, it's against policy. And they are still adamant. Sometimes that's the case. Next is on page 7, policy changes dated April of 2006, where anytime there's a problem, you need to be calling the office first. The local number's there, 438-1936. If you live in Uniontown and surrounding areas where it's not long distance, don't use the toll-free number, because Twin Oaks has to pay for every toll-free call that comes in here. Even if you live on the other side of Uniontown, you should be using the local number. Number 2, employees aren't permitted inside the patient's homes, and again, that's a safety measure. If you're in a home and the patient and family, they leave and they're going to go out to lunch and they wanted you to stay there and clean, as long as there's someone there, we can do that. But if there's no one there, then what can happen down the road is they can say, well, I'm missing my watch. Last Tuesday we went to lunch and the home health aide was there by themselves. That must have been when it came missing. So it's a liability issue. We don't want it to happen. That's our policy. And number 3, when there's a shortage of supplies in the patient's home, make sure you let us know as soon as possible. We've even sent secretaries to go to grocery stores because patients have had no food at all in their homes. Page number 8 talks about incidents. An incident is when there is a problem with either the employee or the patient, where someone could get hurt. It's a safety measure. It could be some type of an injury. And then it goes over, once the incident is reported here to the office, then what happens? It's important for you to understand, it's the office responsibility whenever an incident is reported. We don't let that go unattended. On page 9, it goes over our call-off policy, where all absences require either a doctor's excuse or some type of written information. The important thing here, people are very good about, when there's a call-off, obtaining the written documentation, either from a maintenance, because their car was broke down, but they're not too good at getting it in here. You have 3 business days to get that in here, and you can even drop it in the mail. You don't have to run it into the office, but we have to have that on file so that when the state comes to audit us and they see that you've had 5 call-offs and you only gave us 1 slip, then really you had 4 that are unexcused. So we need to make sure that all absences that are excused have the written documentation to support that. Number 10 talks about workplace violence, what workplace violence includes, and then once you experience it, what do you do? And then once you report it to the office, how does the office handle that? We covered that in the spring staff meeting. Also, the next page, number 11, it goes over the release of liability, where if there is an act, a criminal act that's committed against one of the Twin Oaks Home Care employees, that you're not going to hold Twin Oaks Home Care liable for that. You're going to hold the person liable for that committed the act, and that Twin Oaks Home Care will assist every employee in pursuing them in any type of legal matter that may come out of that. If it's just simple as calling the police, or if it's just as simple as one of the managers going out to the house to speak to the family or patient, maybe you don't want to press charges. Whatever route we need to go, we will pursue that with you. Page 12 is the job description. 1 through 10, there's 10 areas there that focus on each employee's job and what it entails. That's a copy also. I'm sure you've had that previously. Page 13, that's the HIPAA employee policy. And the most important thing to remember about this is that all information that we give you regarding patients, their families, their address, which is called demographics, where they live, the directions to their house, that all needs to be kept strictly confidential. That's why we don't leave it on answering machines. We will call you and say, call us back. We have to be speaking directly to you on the phone to give you that information. If you write it down, you're responsible for that, what you wrote down. Make sure that it doesn't get into inappropriate hands. Page 14 finishes up as to examples of when we may have to disclose healthcare information under the HIPAA Policy Act. Page 15 goes over management structure. If there's a problem here in the office, you bring it to with one of the home health aides. You bring it to the either the on-call supervisor if it's after 5, or one of the office secretaries. You could speak to them about it. If the problem is still there, or one of these people can't help you, then you move on to the next person, which would be the office manager. Then if you contact the office manager and still aren't able to get your problem solved, it's a problem with scheduling or something to do with here in the office, payroll, then it would go to the CEO of the company. Now, if it's a problem in the patient's home, there's a different approach to it, only because Dawn handles everything here in the office. I handle the problems that are in the home. So if the home health aide has a problem in the patient's home, it might be something as the patient had a stroke, you're having difficulty feeding them, you don't know what to do. You call the office, you speak to either the on-call supervisor, or you speak to one of the supervisors out in the home, you speak to one of the other staff nurses. You can also call in here and speak to the office manager. If there's still a problem or it's something important enough that I need to be made aware of, the office manager will let me know. Or the secretaries or office manager here will tell you, go ahead and call Jim on his cell phone. Page 16 is our goal statement. This is what a company stands for. This is how we treat each other. Please try to keep this in the back of your mind. This is our commitment to one another and to everybody that we work with. And page 17 is the payday calendar for 2007. The key is at the bottom, Anything that's circled is when the pay period begins. The square is when the pay period ends. And the square that's colored in is the actual pay date. That's the date that the money is deposited directly into your account. Back to our fall staff meeting agenda. We reviewed number 4. Number 5, these policies here, I wanted to hit a little bit closer. A through U. A is, again, calling the office first. That 4381936. There's times when Regina's on call, when Debbie's on call, Sheila Marie's on call, and Dawn and I are on call. There's times when we're not on call. We may even be out of town. So it's important that you just don't pick up the phone and start dialing someone's cell phone number, like Regina's cell phone number or Sheila's cell phone number. You should always call the office line first. B, reporting patient and employee incidences. Again, see your handbook. Don't wait a month. Don't wait even a week. Those problems are not going to correct themselves on their own. They have to be brought to the office's attention. That way we can document it. And then we also document what we did to correct it. C, patient confidentiality. We just talked about that. It's extremely important. It is a federal law, and when it's not kept, then there are federal consequences, including criminal charges that can be pressed against employees, and that's something that we want to prevent. D is visiting patients outside of your regularly scheduled shift. Again, that's a liability issue. You could go there and the patient could fall over something while you're there. Maybe you took your kids with you. They could trip over one of your kids and break their leg, break their hip, break their neck. Something could come up missing out of the home. We need to make sure that that never happens. Our insurances only cover our employees. They don't cover your boyfriends, your spouses, your children. F, shortages of supplies in the patient's home. Again, make sure that the office knows about that immediately. There was a situation where the home health aide had to bath grandma with a hand soap in the bathroom because there was no bars of soap there in the home to use. It was brought to the office's attention. We took care of it. We made sure it's there. G, patients that are unable to assist with transfers, extremely important to prevent injury. We don't help anyone. We don't do what's called a deadlift transfer. We can help with some pivot assist transfers. We can help with Hoyer lift, sliding board, and that's going to be determined by the Twin Oaks Home Care registered nurse as to which transfer technique is the most appropriate and the most safe for the patient and for the employee. G, gifts and loans. We spoke about that. Cell phones, we also spoke about that. J, solicitation. K, transportation of patients. Our policy is around from 7 a.m. to about 9 p.m. We can assist patients to transport. I don't want employees out on the road. You know, you're working night shift at a home. Yes, Walmart's open 24 hours a day, but they really need to go there during the day. It's not safe going there at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. L, workplace violence. That we covered that in the handbook. M, refusal of an assigned shift once the schedule is complete. Secretaries take pretty much one full day on Monday, at least a half a day on Tuesday, and a half a day on Wednesday to make sure that the schedules are completed, that they're checked, they're double checked, and that they're called to each employee. We have your availabilities, we have your special request. If it's one of our mistakes where we miss a special request that you had requested off, and we schedule you inadvertently for that day, that's not going to count against you. We're not perfect. We can make mistakes. It'll be corrected. But if they call you and you say, yeah, I'm available to work every Tuesday, and we schedule you a Tuesday, and they call you with your schedule on a Thursday and say, okay, you're scheduled this coming Tuesday, and you say, well, I can't work that day. Well, that's going to be considered an unexcused absence, unless for some reason it's a last-minute doctor's appointment and you can provide us with some kind of documentation. P, special requests, we covered that. Q, preventing patient falls, it's very important. 99% of the time patients fall whenever we're not there. They should never fall when we are there. You should be making sure that they have appropriate footwear on, making sure you're with them when they're up ambulating, making sure that they have their medical equipment beside them that they need, walker, wheelchair, cane, crutches, whatever they're using, and make sure that there's some light on when they're up moving around. You can suggest the use of a bedside commode to patients and families, especially at night, to keep them off of the floor, keep them out of the hospital. S, report at bedside at change of shift. That's very important. If you're scheduled 7 to 3, you're leaving at 3 o'clock, next shift's coming on, you just don't run out the door. You want to tell them what happened on your shift, any changes that happened on your shift, or anything maybe a previous shift that told you, maybe medication changes. And you want to mention that to them at the bedside. The patient should be checked to make sure that their diaper is clean and dry. If it's not, you might have just changed them an hour ago and they're wet again. There's 2 of you there. It is both of your responsibility to go ahead. It'll take 5 minutes to get the patient cleaned and dry and a new diaper put on them. T, obtaining your schedule. It is your responsibility to obtain your schedule, no one else's. We will call employees starting Wednesday at 1 p.m. We call as many people as we can Wednesday afternoon. We even leave messages whenever some employees are not home. We also call Thursday morning. If you have not heard of us by Thursday after lunchtime, it's your responsibility on Thursday to call the office and obtain your schedule, because you may be scheduled Friday morning. Schedule changes. Any changes in your assigned shift must be called into the office, because our schedule here must match the monthly time flow sheet that you have in the home. It's very important. Number 6, winter safety. Again, see the snow day policy. 90% of the time, driving isn't the problem and going isn't the problem. It's stopping. So make sure that you drop your speed limit down. You've got to leave a little bit earlier. If it normally takes you 20 minutes, it might take you 40 to get to where you're going when the roads are bad. Make sure you keep supplies in your car. Toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, washcloth, towel. Change of clothes. If you ever get stuck in a patient's home, which can happen around here, we had it happen twice in the last 5 years. When they close the summit down, if someone's up there, you might not be getting down until the next day. And if you have to spend the night, it'd be nice to have some toiletries there to help clean you up. Next, tires. Make sure that you have treads on them, and if you don't have a cell phone, it's a good time to get one for use for emergencies in your vehicle. Number 7, there's a handout that's attached to this. This would be page 2 and 3. It talks about sexuality and dementia. It's very important that we have an understanding that there are behavioral issues in some confused elderly people where they try to be sexually inappropriate. And not just sexually inappropriate even with employees. There's times when the family members even take them out in public. How does one handle that type of a situation? I'm not going to read this word for word, but it's here, page 2, 3, and page 4 finishes up on. It's very important. You can take a look at that. If you have any questions, you can get a hold of the office. Number 8. The next handout, which is handout 2. The responsibility of patients and families, that has changed, and you'll see the bold print after this handout on sexuality and dementia. We have patient and family responsibilities. The bold print will read that. Understand that you will receive at least 2 to 3 employees for each shift that you request. The 4 shifts we provide are day, evening, night, and weekend. If someone requests a day and evening shift during the week, that would mean there would be between 4 and 6 employees providing their care. This is done to ensure dependability of care. If you